Hello, my name is Rebeca McKelvey, and I am a juvenile judge here in St. Charles County and a parishioner of St. Peter's Parish in St. Charles, Missouri. And I'm very happy to be with you at the St. Joseph Evangelization Network today. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about foster care and foster care here in St. Charles in particular, but there's foster families and foster needs not just here, but all around the world. In this area in St. Charles County, there's nearly 300 children that are in foster care. And the reason that kids come into foster care really varies. What doesn't vary is the fact that they're there through no fault of their own. They really did nothing to deserve this. And what's very difficult is not only is the incident that caused them or the incidences that caused them to come into foster care traumatic, the process of being in foster care is traumatic in and of itself. When a child goes into protective custody, a social worker and a police officer show up at your home, and whether that home is abusive or neglectful, for these children, it's the only home they've ever known. And they love their parents, and they love their siblings, and you're really taken out of that environment, put in a home with people you don't know, with really only the clothes on your back and whatever you can put in a backpack. Some children don't even have that. And a lot of times a foster home is not in the same area that the home they were living in was. So now they have to change schools. They've already changed homes, now they have to change schools. Sometimes you have a big sibling group. You have a sibling group of 4 or 5, and there's simply not a foster home that can accommodate all 5 children. So sometimes these children are removed from their parents, removed from their home, removed from their school, and then they're separated from their siblings. Many of which, especially the older children, have kind of been serving in a parental role for those other kids. So it's a very traumatic process. Now, why do kids go into foster care, and what's the role of the juvenile court? Well, the role of the juvenile court, it's a treatment court. Many of you have maybe heard of treatment courts, like there's a DWI court, there's drug court, there's veterans court, mental health court. This is a treatment court in which the role is not really punishment or corporal, but rehabilitation, if at all possible. So the juvenile court provides services to these parents. If the children came in because of maybe domestic violence that was impacting the children, the parents may be required to get psychological evaluations, counseling, behavior modifications, things like that. If they came in because of drug abuse, they might be given substance abuse counseling and things of that nature. The most common reasons, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the common reasons that children come into care, and that's substance abuse. That's really the biggest reason. So for example, there was a recent case in which a mother overdosed in her own home on heroin, and her 3-year-old child was present. Luckily, someone did a welfare check and called an ambulance, and she was revived. But the state of that home showed that there had been ongoing neglect for some time. It was very unkempt, rotten food, dirty diapers overflowing in the trash can, and the state of the child showed that he was neglected as well. He hadn't received his vaccinations, he was dirty, he had severe diaper rash, and so that mother was given what's called the written service agreement. And those are the expectations of the court for this person: drug testing, substance abuse treatment, counseling. And if a parent works that program, and unfortunately sometimes it can take up to 2 years for someone to be rehabilitated. Sometimes they are not rehabilitated, and that results in a different process, which is called termination of parental rights, and we'll talk a little bit about that. If the person fulfills all that and accepts and works with the help that they're given, then they can be reunified with their child. So substance abuse issues are primarily a reason. If parents are incarcerated for some reason and there's no suitable custodian, it's another reason kids go into foster care. The goal of the court is always to place with family members. if a parent's unavailable. A grandparent, an aunt, an older sibling. Sometimes if those folks aren't suitable, we'll look for what's called a kinship placement, maybe a neighbor that the child's had a very long-standing relationship with, or a member of their church, or a teacher. So when a child's in foster care, it's imperative to try to find someone that the child is familiar with. A lot of times, as you can imagine, these types of problems are systemic in a family, and so grandparents, aunts, and uncles may not be suitable either. Another reason, I was talking about parents that are incarcerated. When there was a very bad methamphetamine problem in this county, now it's more of a heroin problem, the drug task force was going and finding these clandestine drug labs. And so what would happen is the whole family, mom, dad, everyone that was working in this business would get arrested, and there'd be no suitable custodian for these kids, and they'd come into foster care. Untreated mental illness is a reason too. We had a parent who was going door to door in 20-degree weather, searching for a deceased relative with an infant and several other children that were dressed only in diapers and a t-shirt. Really she was just suffering from an untreated mental illness. When she received assistance for that, psychological evaluation, medication and medication review, and worked that program, she was able to reunify with her children. And so those are some of the reasons. Obviously, physical and sexual abuse, those are also very common reasons why children come into care. The average stay of a child in foster care can be up to 2 years. The average age is age 8, although our children that come into foster care range from birth all the way up to 18. Children can remain in foster care over the age of 18 if they either attend college or if they have some kind of disability, either a psychological or intellectual disability or a physical one, and then they can remain until the age of 21. In the cases where we cannot reunify folks, where they're not able to work these written service agreements and follow the court's instructions, then there's another process which is called termination of parental rights. And that's a very difficult process. It's a very serious process. And it's what we call the civil death penalty. Because what happens in the termination of parental rights is that the biological parents' names are actually removed from the birth certificate. And the relationship between the child and the parent is forever severed. And then the child is placed up for adoption or guardianship. And so it's some of the most serious cases that we deal with. We hope that this doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And it is very traumatic for some children because even though they know that their parents maybe aren't able to take care of them, they desire to be part of that family unit. They always have hope that maybe their parents can achieve some change. But for some children, as traumatic as it is, TPR really presents the best hope for a new life, an ability to start over. In Missouri, in 2017, there were 19,400 children in foster care. That's a tremendous amount of our population. And I'm searching for statistics regarding how many children were adopted through the result of the foster care system in 2017. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find it. But I also wanted to discuss how you, as an ordinary citizen, can help and get involved. Here in St. Charles County, we have a pantry, a food pantry called the Foster and Adoption Support Team Food Pantry. And you can look them up on the web under FAST. And they provide food and clothing to foster parents. Now, why would that be necessary? Foster parents in Missouri and in every state receive a small subsidy. Missouri is one of the lowest in the nation. This subsidy, frankly, is not enough to allow a foster parent to really take care of their own biological children plus their foster children. So FAST was founded by a parishioner of St. Cletus Church in St. Charles County, two parishioners, Tom and Vicki Hauska, and they provide food of all kinds, meat, vegetables, dairy products, and they provide clothing for children of all ages. And it's open every Saturday on Boone's Lick Road. And foster parents in St. Charles County can go there and receive that assistance for free. So they're always looking for volunteers. If you want to help children in foster care, that's one way to do it. Another way is our court-appointed special advocate program. That's a program sponsored by the juvenile courts, okay? And you can contact them at 949-7900 and ask for Janelle Walters. CASA is a program where a judge like myself appoints a volunteer. You don't have to have any special knowledge of the law or foster care. You simply have to have an open heart. And you serve as an advocate for a child that's already in foster care. You spend time with them, you get to know their foster family, their biological family, and you give the judge an opinion on what you think as an informed and concerned citizen is in the best interest of this child. And it provides a wonderful perspective for a judge like me when having to make a very difficult decision between something like reunification of a child with their parent or something like termination of parental rights and adoption. And the other option, of course, and the option that we need more than anything is to become a foster parent. It is a challenging thing. These children have a lot of trauma in their life, which at times can cause some serious behavioral issues. Some of these children are drug exposed or have been physically abused in such a way that they have disabilities now, so they can be very medically fragile. But along with all the challenges of being a foster parent, there are so many wonderful blessings that go along with that. You can be the first person to give a child a feeling of safety, a feeling of love, and a feeling of acceptance. And if you are called by the Holy Spirit to be a part of that very special mission of opening your heart to a child and opening your home to a child that may remain with you for a period of months or even years or even permanently, depending on the situation, then I really encourage you to call our local children's division here in St. Charles County. You can just look them up on the web, St. Charles County, Missouri Children's Division. They'll give you all the training you need free of charge, and they'll place you with a child in need. Before we leave, I want to leave you with this message in this biblical scripture, and it says from Mark chapter 9, verse 37, "Whoever welcomes one of these little ones, these little children, in my name, welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me." I'm going to ask you to please pray for foster families, the children they care for, the social workers handling these cases, and the judges that are handling these cases. Please pray for wisdom for all of these folks and ask God to give us more foster parents for St. Charles County. God bless you.